Hey guys, and welcome back to another video presentation. And what we're going to be talking about today is DYNDNS, as I've had some requests about this phenomenon, and it's about how to access the home center from outside your network without having to use fibaro ID or fibaro cloud. When you log in through the id.cloud.fibaro.com, it gets you in, and then you can access your home center, and it then brings you up to the normal screen where you can just input your username and password. However, you can't do things like updates, etc. Ideally, that's a good thing because you should really be on site when you're doing updates. However, sometimes the Fibaro cloud is actually out of service. So if they're doing some server upgrades or server management, or there's a bit of an outage and you need to get into your home center from outside your home, then this might be a useful way of getting in. Now, one of the things I do have to mention is security. Now, what we have to do is we actually are creating a port forward in your router to be able to access the home center. Okay, so that is one thing that you are going to be doing when you're doing this. So what I recommend to do is when you do create those port forwards, you will have you would type in your port number, say a random number, up to 65,550, I think it is. So you can choose, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in the port forwarding rule, it would then port forward that to port 80 and the IP address. So I'm going to try and explain it, but the problem with this thing is everybody has got different routers, right? And because you've got different routers, it works differently for everybody. So I'm going to show you in the router that I have, okay? But generally speaking, it's exactly the same thing, okay, on how it actually works. So first of all, I've got the IP of my, so we go on to home center and we look at the network settings, and from here you can see that my network is 10.0.75.50. so if I wanted to access that inside my house, I just type that in, which I've done, and I'm in the settings. And it's port 80 is standard. That's why it's disappeared. You don't have to actually put in this won't be by port 80:80. Okay. Now, if I wanted to make it visible from outside my network, all I have to do then, if I click onto my router, so I have a Unify system, and then I would click on the main network. Sorry, I click on main network. I would then click on settings, and then security, and then port forwarding. So here I've already created one here anyway. So, but I'm just gonna create a new one to show you what I mean. So you click on create entry. You will then put a name for it. So YouTube test. What interface? Right, I've got multiple interfaces, so I'm going to make sure that I select the right interface. If not, I can just select on both, but depending on your router will depend on how many ways you have to connect to the internet. It can be from anywhere, or you can have it from a certain number of people. So best to leave this as any, so anybody can log in. Well, as in whatever computer you're going to be running on. Now port, this is where I was saying create a randomized port number. So in my example, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the IP. So I remember I said my IP of my system was 10.0.75.50, and it needs to forward to port 80. And then what protocol? Always both. And then we click on add entry. So here is my list. So every time if I wanted to connect to this, I would then type in my IP address of my house network, which I'm going to show you how to get, :1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as my port, and it will automatically then transfer that data straight to this to my this page. Well, it would go into the logging in page, to be honest. It would automatically go into my logging in page, and then I can see it and I can browse this as though I'm sitting at home. Now, that's how you do it on Unify. When you've got routers such as Virgin, TP-Link, ASUS, Virgin Media, pretty much all of them will have the same system. The menu system might be a little bit different, but generally speaking, it's under security and port forwarding, okay? And that's the section you need to be in. If you're unsure, Google is your friend. Just Google it for your specific make and model. Now, what's the IP address I need to use to get into my property? Now, for that, the best thing to do is we type in what'smyip.org, and it then displays what your IP address is up here. I've hidden mine for safety, security reasons. So my IP is here. So if I then type in this specific IP, :12345, that will then take me straight in to this page from outside, and it'll be as though I'm sitting in my house. Now, if you have trouble, now the problem with the What's My IP is every time you reboot your router or anything like that, it automatically sometimes can give you a new IP address, unless you pay for a static IP from your service provider. So if you don't do that, then you might be better off in going to one of the DYNDNS services. So what they do is it allows you to substitute some words, something that's easy to remember. Say, for example, myhouse.dyn.dns, or my holiday home, yorkshireautomation.dyn.dns.org. So it allows you to substitute all of these different things for yourself. So here's an account that I have. And from here on the left side, we've got all the different host names. So again, it's for security reasons. So I've got the host name. So here we can have any name that I've created. The target, which is the target. So this will be this will be the What's My IP address. So all I would then have to do is type in something. So for example, yorkshireautomation.ddns.net, and it will automatically send it to my home address. There's always something called a dynamic DNS update client. So one of these. So this, you've got options of running it on your Windows, your Mac, or Linux based. And what this does is a little tool which checks every day. It runs on the, as it says, it runs on the computer, and it checks frequently for an IP address update. When the IP address changes in your home, it will automatically update this website. So it would automatically update no IP. Or if you're with the DYNDNS, it will automatically update DYNDNS. So depending on the service provider you're with and who you go with, it will do automatically updates for them. So therefore, you only have to remember. So for me personally, if mine was yorkshireautomation.dyn.dns, then this client software would make sure that every time I type that address in, it would always send it to my home. And even if I switch off my modem, reboot it, turn it back on, and that's changed, my service provider then changes that IP, this little client will update and make sure that it always points to the right address. Okay, so hopefully you get all that straightforward. So main thing from here, port forwarding, name of item from anywhere, what port, what's the forwarding port, and that's it. And just remember this number and make it random as possible. This will help to make it a little more secure. So far so good for me personally, but I have to tell you about the risks, and the risks are still there, and they will be able to gain access to the home center but they would also have to know your usernames and passwords, etc. Okay. I think there's anything else to add to that. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and I will see you guys soon on the next one. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.